What's up, everybody? This is Beyond the Pipe with Chris and Sean. Today we have a special guest, Ernie Quintiliani. I believe that's how you pronounce your last name, from Watch City
Perfect.
Cigar. I
Welcome,
got
sir.
it? All
You
right.
got it. You got it. Perfect.
So I am smoking a Longshank egg with some delicious Watch City Simply Red that I think I got like 3 years ago. So pretty decent age on that.
Mm,
Ernie, what are
I'm
you smoking?
smoking. I am smoking an old Mastro de Paya back when they didn't suck. Uh, one son, and I am smoking McBaron Rustica Ready Rubbed, which is making me loopy.
That
That's a
one's
pretty
good.
strong one. I can't
Mm,
Yeah,
handle that kind of nicotine, man.
mm.
I like Rustica.
I didn't used to be able to. It does take some effort.
Yeah. No, that's a lot of nicotine for
Little
me.
little nicotine poisoning, you know, and you're good.
Chris just stuffs that in his lip.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
It doesn't bother me at all. I thought it was really just a nice blend. And then everyone's like, oh, man, it's so strong. I'm like, I
Well,
mean,
the thing about the Rustica is the McBaron's Rustica is that essentially it's the only commercial Rustica that
mhm.
was available. Now it's not available anymore, and I was lamenting the fact that one of our best Christmas, in fact, our best Christmas blend was 2024's Bipolar Express, which was a aromatic with Rustica. And Rustica just lends itself to lending body and strength to aromatics and just a whole new level to them.
That's pretty
And
cool.
poof, it's gone.
Yep.
Yeah. So is there
And I
anything even remotely comparable, like Dark Fire Kentucky or something?
nobody is look. Is there leaf available, like raw leaf? Yes. Blenders like myself, we can't work with raw leaf due to the ATF rules. It's not tax paid,
Really?
and to get to the point where we could you use raw leaf and be tax paid um, takes a lot of time, a lot of money, and there's a lot of crap involved with it. You've got to have a bonded room. You've got to have $1 million. Last time I checked, it was like $1 million bond. Um, you've got to keep you've got to keep logs of the weight of every single ounce of tobacco that you take out of that room,
Yeah.
and then you got to
Wow.
weigh it when you process it. The ATF can come on your property at any time. We're just not set up for it. And
Yeah.
in an industry that keeps getting regulated, um, not sure that it's a wise decision. I think people have to have farts in their head to start a tobacco business now.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
just there's so many levels you've got to go through. The ATF's the easy part. They're good guys. You just you get once you get the license, you just pay them, keep records. Um, the um, the FDA nightmare, and I still can't believe that pipe tobacco hasn't gotten some sort of pass like cigars have.
Yeah. That's weird. So as a blender, you're not allowed to use raw leaf. You have to buy already, like you have to buy components that are already processed and already had been
Well, cut,
regulated.
sure. I mean, I'm sure that there's somewhere out there where I could buy cut leaf or leaf that's had the stem removed, but I have to buy it from a processor, someone who has a TP license, a tobacco producer's license.
Okay.
Um, Sutliff, C&D, but I'm not really that interested in working with raw leaf. We've been doing a little bit of it with with some of our blends, but it's really we're not set up for that,
Hmm.
and
Okay.
it's just as easy for us to buy, say, Bright Virginia Ribbon, and then case it the way we want to case it, and
Gotcha.
blend it the way we want to blend it.
That makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay. I guess I didn't realize that as a blender, you can't use raw leaf for the most part.
Right.
It's a
We're not a
different
produ- we're
it's a
Yeah,
different
exactly. It's a totally
stage
different
in
thing.
the
Yeah.
chain, I guess.
Yep. I mean, basically, what we're using is raw leaf, or should I say, whole leaf is probably a better term. Um,
Okay.
we can't, but if they cut it, then it's fine. If they cut it and they pay the taxes on it, the Fed tax, and it comes to us, it's fine. And that's what I prefer to use. I prefer to use untouched cut leaf,
Gotcha.
bright
Okay.
Virginia, red Virginia, stuff like that. Um, and
Gotcha.
sometimes there are
So,
some good bases out there. The Virginia Oriental, there's bases out there you can get, things like that.
okay. How many years have you been a blender?
20, 22 or 23 years, I think.
Wow.
Wow. Has that been at Watch City Cigar the whole time?
Every moment of it. I did work at a couple of other places when I was younger, but never blended there. We started out, I started working at Watch City part-time back in 2000, and it was maybe a dozen Peterson pipes there. It was mostly cigars. It was just at the end of the cigar boom. It had
Yeah.
been in existence in some form or another since 1996. Started off as a cigar section of a convenience store,
Oh, wow.
and it moved from there. And I had called the owner at the time. It's a different owner now, but I had called the owner at the time, who I knew from patronizing the store, and I said, "Look, I'm looking for some part-time work." I was working full-time in professional photography, and I said, "Let's see if I can get another gig, because I like having access to tobacco." And I was hired there part-time, and it soon became full-time when he needed the help. And to make a very long story short, I was strictly told no tobacco blending when I expressed an interest in it. We
Really?
don't do that here. We're not going to do it. So the first thing I did was blend tobacco. Um, it's
When
it's
was
it's
that? Like
it's
how
That was
long
around
into the in
2001, so about a
Okay.
year into it. And I figured, it's a I'm only working part time here now, and well, full time in 2001. But let me go back a little bit. The first thing I did was about the second week I was there, and as I said, we had about maybe a dozen Peterson pipes and just a little bit of tobacco. There was your lane blends, your BCA, 1Q, all that stuff, just your basic drugstore stuff. And a guy came in selling pipes for Armalini, and I said, "You know what? I can sell these." So I bought like a dozen of them, and the owner came up to me the next day and said, "What the hell are you doing? You don't have any authority to buy these things." And I said, he says, "Sell those things. Sell them in a week or you're gone." So within 48 hours, I sold them all.
Wow.
A dozen pipes. And of course, I was selling them like my life depended on it. But then I was told by the owner, no blending here. We're never going to do it. So about, like I said, around 2001, I had spoken to Mary at McClelland. I had been um, building up our tin tobaccos, and we weren't online yet. So we had to go easy because there wasn't that much walk-in traffic.
Yeah.
And I had asked Mary when I was making an order from her about an old tobacco they used to make called Blackjack, which was sort of a sweeter English blend. And I think they made it for the PCCA. And she said it wasn't made anymore. And when I got the order a couple of weeks later, there were about 4 bags of different tobaccos in different proportions with the names and the weight written on the bags. And she said, "You asked about Blackjack. I can't give you the recipe, but if you blend these together, you'll come close to it." And so I did,
Ah.
and I made sure of it. I made sure I gave a sample of it to a customer in the store who I knew would like it in front of the boss. And
Bold.
he did like it. And a couple of weeks later, I had ordered more ingredients from McClelland, and I had put that blend together. We called it Deep Ellum, and the boss didn't even notice it
Hmm.
until we started selling a lot of
Wow.
it.
Okay.
So it all kind of went from there. We started making more blends in around 2004. We got online, and we used McClelland heavily. Some Sutler, of course, they were consolidated back then, I believe. And we we had a few real hits. Our original mixtures, Persian Slipper, is still available. Justice Mixture was a really unique Oriental and Perique mixture, and that was a real good seller. Had like a almost like a cinnamon flavoring to it. Um,
Hmm.
and of course, when McClellan went out, that was that. And
Yeah.
then Lane was purchased. No, House of Windsor went next. House of Windsor supplied a lot of people with Burley. They had great Burleys. They up and went out overnight, just like McClellan. Nobody knew, and then they knew. And then
Wow.
you just got to cut your blends, and you got. And then Lane was purchased by STG, and STG let Lane run by themselves in Tucker, Georgia, for maybe I don't know how many years, a few years anyway. And then they cut the portfolio right down, and so there were no more blending tobaccos available from Lane. They cut out all the tins, the Mountain Leaf, Medal of Honor, Medal of Valor, all that stuff. And
Wow.
then we all know what happened with McBaron and Sutliff.
Yeah.
And
So this isn't
what
new. You've seen it all over the
It's
years.
not new, and we were given ample time. As soon as I heard that STG had bought McBaron, I hoped that they wouldn't do what I knew they would do,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
go apocalyptic on the whole thing. Look, they're looking out for their bottom line and their employees. One of the guys I really respect, although I've never met him, I've seen a lot of interviews, is Pierre Jensen from who used to work for McBaron, and as he said on another podcast a few weeks back, STG doesn't care about tobacco. If the head of STG tomorrow said, "Okay, we're going to sell ketchup now," then that's what they do.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of the bottom line. So that part I get. I do not like the way that I've been told from several people inside of Sutliff. I do not like the way it went down.
Yeah.
And I do not like the fact that there are people who represent STG on public forums telling outright lies
Mm-hmm.
about what happened.
Yeah.
The buck stops with Regius. He is the head of STG over there, and he makes all the decisions. There is nobody in the United States who makes decisions. The final word stops at the top. So
Wow.
it was just a bad situation, I think, for everybody. There's people I've been working with there for years,
Yeah.
and they're good people. And as a blender, the thing that I'm going to miss the most is the consistency of availability. I could call
Okay.
Sutliff and say, I need 100 pounds of Red Virginia, and I need 100 pounds of this. And within 2 weeks, a pallet would show
Wow.
up. Cornell and Deal stuff is good. Their leaf is as good as that, but it's a matter of consistent availability. I've got to get myself in tune with saying, okay, well, we need this blend. I need, 80 pounds of this, 100 pounds of this, 60 pounds of this. I got to order it ahead of time. So I can see consistency of availability from me or from Watch City and other blenders being maybe an issue in the future.
Yeah.
But we're not going to stop. And I already have a bunch of different blends in the testing phase, some of them really good, using tobacco from other houses. And
Yeah.
there's plenty out there. I'm not going to mention a lot of them, but there's places that you just have to look for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And having been in the business for as long as I have, you make friends with importers and they make things happen.
Yeah. I want to be encouraging to people out there because there's a lot of social media posts and everybody's like, oh, it's the tobacco apocalypse. It's all ending. Well, this shit has happened.
Well, let me
It's
give you an
tobacco's
example.
come and gone. There will be more.
To your point, we have a very large, I know it's the largest in New England, display of tins in our store. It's about, well, it's a lot. It's an entire wall of the store. And when when all the McBaron and the Sutliff tins had dwindled down, I took those all off and put them in the back in the warehouse and brought out the stuff that we didn't have room for. And there's still stuff I don't have room for. There's plenty
Yeah.
of stuff out there. I got to say, Laudisi is doing a better job at distributing tobaccos than anyone who's ever had those tobaccos before. There's more of the Gowith stuff here now, and it's more available than it ever was. And I mean, that's fantastic to just be
Yeah.
able
That is
to get
fantastic.
dark flake,
Yeah.
you know? But as far as to your point with the tobacco apocalypse, that's been kind of a nightmare. We've been flat straight out for a few weeks, and don't get me wrong, we appreciate the business and the revenue is great, but I got to tell you, there are some people buying some blends that I know they're not going to smoke, and they're buying a lot of. Now,
Just
at
to
one
have
point
them.
in time, well, at one point in time, I went on to see what my customers were buying compared to their history, and a lot of them, okay, who are used to smoking. I mean, Orlick Golden, and not that's a bad blend. It's great, but it's a milder blend. And now they're all of a sudden buying 2-3 pounds of Rustica, Old Dark
Mm.
Fire, all this stuff. You know, it,
Yeah.
it's fear of missing out. It is what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I personally, in my own little world, if I could sell tobacco only to those who are going to smoke it and enjoy it, I'd do it. But that's not happening anymore. There's a lot of hysteria around tobacco.
This happens
Good for
every
good for
time.
me.
It happens every time, though. I mean, when McClellan's shut down, there was this almost like a consolidation contagion that happened.
That's a good phrase. That's a
Yeah,
$5 phrase.
that's going on a T-shirt, by the way.
Yeah,
Consolidation
should.
contagion.
That's what it is, like, because you've got all these, you've got this vacuum, like a power vacuum, right? So
Right.
let's just say, like, with McClellan's, it was really apparent, and we kind of saw the fallout in real time, and now we're a ways away from it, to where we kind of see how it all shifted.
Well, I can tell you from the retail business, the retail tobacco business standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
The mania started right after McClellan closed,
Mhm.
and it's still going on today. And there are
Yeah.
still blends
Hasn't
that I
stopped.
cannot keep in stock.
Yeah.
With the exception of the esotericus, don't get me started on that. That's a whole different ballgame. They're just a very small production.
Yeah.
And it is what it is. But give me an example. Burnt ends.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the greatest marketing ideas I have ever seen. I applaud them for that one.
It was really smart.
Take the end cuts, put them in a box, call them something different, put a fancy name on them, and sell them. And they're good. They're good.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with them. They used to grind it up in England and call it pensioners mixture.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was pensioners mixture. They just the ends they'd grind them but
Wow.
their marketing is fantastic.
Yeah.
The issue kind of that I saw, and probably what you're seeing now that you're referring to with not being able to keep certain blends in stock, though, and I guess the consolidation contagion part of it is you have a provider, what have you, shut down, and then everyone's like, but what else is going to go? And then they latch on to the next thing. And for a while, it was like, okay, McClellan's gone. Okay, now we're going to latch on to like Germain's. Now we're going to latch on to Sam Gowith. And we're going to pick like Squadron Leader. Oh, shit, that's kind of rare. I'm going to suck up as much of that as I can. I've
Yeah.
gotten in recent years a lot of stuff that people sucked up, myself included. Like Jermaine's Brown is one of them.
Hmm.
People went ape shit on that because they couldn't
Yep.
get Esoterica, but they could get Jermaine's Brown, which is, basically like some of the Esoterica blends, same blender, same house. And I got a bunch. I mean, that was my next stop right after I hit I did it before and then McClellan's, and then after I was hitting the Germains and just shuffling around, like, where can I get more of this stuff? Now I'm starting to get in contact with guys that bought a metric shit ton of that stuff, and they're like, I don't really like it. And I'm like, I do. And then I can come to them with McClellan's, and I'm doing 2-for-1 deals on that because it's still available. You know,
I
it's
see the same thing
yeah.
happening to a lesser degree with the McBaron stuff. I think a lot of people are
Mhm.
buying this stuff. I mean, I've seen already on one of the auctions, the auction site, I'm not going to mention, but the auction site, I've already seen a can of vanilla McBaron something roll cake, or was it
Yeah.
flake or something, selling for like $60.
Mhm.
And I'm
Jeez.
like, whoa. But to a certain degree, I think that unlike McClellan, who, okay, they were here, and then I called up to make an order, and Mary's like, I'm sorry. And they had great reasons.
Yeah.
The reasons were a lot of their reason was quality. I mean, they just couldn't get the red Virginia, and believe me, I know how that feels. You've got to be an alchemist and a chemist to make decent red Virginia these days. But it is what it is. Um, so with McBaron, we had what, 3 months, 2.5, 3 months, and a lot of shops ordered a lot of stuff and then sold it just as quickly.
Yeah.
It flooded the market, and I think there's a lot of people out there who think, well, 5 years from now, well, we're going to make a lot of money on this. I don't think it's going to be that way. I think
It's not enough to matter, dude. Like some of the stuff,
no.
I just picked up 10 of these from Smoking Pipes, the Burley Flake,
Burley
and
Flake is awesome. Yeah,
it's freaking awesome. And I wish I knew about it sooner. Now I have 9 3/4 tins, and
It's good stuff.
I'll get more somewhere in the future. Some guy will want to offload them.
all right. I've got a few tins of Burley London blend here somewhere from
Yeah.
years ago.
But,
Uh,
there's, I don't know. I've seen tin bids. I've seen people paying kind of ridiculous. Some of the stuff on tin bids actually makes sense. We'll shout
sure.
out tin bids. I mean, it's a cool place to
Yep.
go if you've got deep pockets and you want to try some stuff you can't get otherwise.
Yep.
Like you want to buy a tin of Players cigarettes from like 1950. Great
Yeah.
place to do it. You're going to drop $1,000 probably. That's,
Yeah.
You ever see
It's
a
all
tin?
about the experience, though.
You ever see a tin of Balkan Sobrani cigarettes on there? Let me know.
Oh yeah, those are impossible. You could probably talk to Steve. He might be able to kind of nudge you in a direction, but I don't know if he'd give it up.
I love Steve.
Yeah,
Steve's
he's
great.
awesome. Steve's always
One of
been
the
awesome.
few guys that have been around for years. Um, I've seen a lot of people, the real tobacco importers and real tobacco guys, just come and go. Or more go than come.
Yeah.
Nobody's coming in. Um, to name a few, Marty Pulvers,
Hmm. Yeah.
Steve Monjour. I've known him forever. Just solid guys. Steve Fallon, and
Yeah.
there's just some great guys out there. Jonathan at Sutliff, I loved working with him. And just a really cool guy. And Alan Schwartz, I loved Alan from XYZ Importers. Now, Alan took over for Butera. Well, he took on the Esoterica after Mike Butera and gave it up. And I got to tell you, he used to call me and beg me to take some of that stuff on because it used to sit on the shelves.
Hmm.
Esoterica, and you could come into Watch City on any given day back in 2007, 2008, and get any Esoterica blend you wanted.
Yeah.
And you'd probably have to knock the dust off it.
It's wild.
Not because it was a bad tobacco, but because the mania hadn't started up, that fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know? And I
The
can't
mania
help
really
but,
hasn't stopped, like you
no, it
said.
hasn't. I can't help but think in the back of my head that, well, look, the marketing's out there. I shouldn't talk. Rougarou. Okay, Rougarou, I think the quickest it's sold out is 20 minutes. The longest it's taken is about maybe 2 or 3 days. And now, I mean, we've got enough Sutliff tobacco to make Rougarou for 2 more years.
Wow.
And it's going to be, I may even limit it to 8 ounces per, but it's going to be a mad rush, I think. And
Yeah.
Jim Inks and I are already talking. Jim Amish and I made, actually, I should say Jim. Rougarou was 99% Jim and about 1% me trying to fool Jim. He'd give me the recipe and I'd send it down to him and I'd put something in it and I wouldn't say anything. He'd nail it every single time. It's
Really?
just the way he is. He's like, he just gets tobacco. But anyway, Rougarou, he and I are already looking at alternatives and what we're going to do for the future for stuff like that. He's a
Yeah.
good guy. He's a great guy to collaborate with. And but Rougarou, I never intended for that to be a unicorn or the monster, no pun intended, that it's become. Um, it's
It's good.
I think the first batch we made. Well, I'll comment on whether I think it's good or not in a second. And I do, but I'll comment on that in a second. But it's very difficult. Not. I don't want to say crazy hard to make, but you do have to case a bunch of different things. You got to do it a couple of months, 3 months ahead of time. We're already been planning for it. We've already been putting it together. You got to make sure you got the Perique because it's not always available. It was never always available at Sutliff. And the first time we made it, I think I made like 15 pounds, and I said, "Oh, this is a lot." I mean, now we're talking 300, 350 pounds at a whack.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's not a ton.
That's a lot for a tobacco that sells out in a day or so.
We're a 3-guy operation, and I'm working in a blending room that I have to step outside to change my mind. It's so small.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, now we're actually looking at getting more equipment. Couple little things in the works here that's going to really help us with consistency and help us process some tobacco that we couldn't before. But comment on the Rougarou. You know how some people taste cilantro and they love it? Like myself, I love cilantro. Some people don't have that gene, I guess they call it.
Yeah.
And it tastes like soap to them.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with Rougarou. There are some people who cannot take Perique in that strong of and that much. And I don't even want to, I don't want to say how much Perique is in it, but there's a lot. And
I love
some people,
Perique. That's why I love Rougarou so much.
Yeah. Some people have taken 3 or 4 puffs of it and said, this stuff, oh, this is awful.
Yeah.
Which is why I never, ever recommend buying a pound of anything first. But these days, I suppose it's, again, fear of missing out. Because when you buy a pound from Watch City and you don't like it, we ain't taking it back. So
yeah, I think that's across the board. I mean, no one's.
It's easy for trade bait, though. I mean, there's enough people that want it, and
yeah, you can get rid of this stuff.
I have had a lot of people call me up over the years and try to return a bag of tobacco because they bought too much of it and didn't like it.
It's a consumable. You don't get to return it.
It's open.
It's open.
Well, I mean, about half of them understood when I explained it to them, and the other half got off the phone with a sore ass. That's fine by me.
Too bad.
We've been doing this. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And I'm the first one to admit that after, I think, 30 years of dealing with the public in some manner, okay, mostly retail, I'm the last person who should be in customer service at all.
I don't think so. People like the real.
Well, there are some sensitives out there. I mean, I've pissed my I've pissed any number of people off over the years. Look, let's just say it. Sean, Chris, you're both pipe makers, okay? Mm-hmm. And I sell pipes. Mm-hmm. And pipe sales, and now tobacco even now, attracts a small amount but a noticeable amount of the ridiculously anal retentive.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I shit you not, Chris, when I tell you that, and we're selling a ton of your pipes. For us, we don't sell a ton of pipes, but we're selling a lot of the Bones pipes.
Thanks.
And I've got people calling me up and saying, "Is this supposed to have a pit in it?"
Yeah.
And I'm nice,
It's a
but
hard education for some people.
it is, and
Yeah.
it's the same thing like when a guy comes in with a micrometer.
Mhm.
All right, if you're buying a $500, $400 high end or mid end pipe, all right, do whatever you want. I don't care. And if
Mhm.
you're buying it online from me, you get even more leeway because I want you, you can't be in front of that pipe. So if you take it home or you get it a package, you open it up, that pipe's
Yeah.
not to your liking. Just call us up. We'll take it back. Not a problem.
Yeah.
Just don't smoke it, which has happened before too. But
Mhm.
if it's $100 pipe, okay, and you're coming in and you're asking me for 25 to 30% off of it because the bowl is drilled a freaking micron off center. This happens a lot.
Yeah.
And it's just 10 years ago, we would have just, for the sake of argument, just, I'm sorry, we can't do a discount. But, maybe you should look at these. At this point in time, more like, buddy, what the hell's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You got fats in your head?
And the price is going up. That's something I was talking to someone today about that, where, a lot of us who make pipes, like, Sean and I making pipes by hand, we could kind of keep the prices relatively stable over a long enough period of time. And our natural increase in price, just as skill increases, finish increases, we compensate for the cost of briar and ebonite going up, which
Right.
is psychotically expensive.
I've heard that.
From a factory standpoint, my costs go up at least 5%, and at least once a year. In 2020, they went up 3 times 5%. Just boop, boop, boop. And I was like, hold up. So then for me, like I kept, bones were $39 for like 7 years. They were $39. And if you were lucky enough to get me at the right time, I would do a random gnarly shape where I have a bin that has all like the most grotesque ones that have the biggest pits, the biggest flaws, which a lot of people hunt and lust after just on their own. Those would be 35. Hands down, you can't get a better pipe for twice that price.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah. So when I bumped my prices, I was like, I can't do anymore, guys. I can't do $39. Like, my margins are just razor thin at this point. And I had to keep up with wholesale to sell to guys like you, right? So
Right.
they have to be a certain price.
Right.
So I was like, guys, they're going to be 45. There was a little transition time to where like the nicer shapes went for 49. Some of like the more simple small shapes went for, 45. The smaller shapes went for like 39. I kind of did that for a bit. And then I was like, boom, they're all 45. I'm going to have to do that again soon to where they're all boom 50. And it's just the way it goes.
This is
Which is totally reasonable for the product
totally
you're offering.
Reasonable. Yeah.
This is not only with, making pipes. I mean, this is
everything.
This is across the board. Look, cigars for the last 4 or 5 years, every manufacturer has had a significant increase, some of them twice in a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. One company, which I can't mention, their stuff has just gone through the roof. And the only way you're going to ever look, how do you get people will come in and they'll say, wow, this cigar is $20 a cigar. This is ridiculous. Or some cigars are 100 now. We don't carry many of them, but a reasonably expensive cigar, like 25, $30, people come in and they'll say, they're coming up to the counter with it, and they got it there and they're ready to pay for it, and they say, wow, this is ridiculous. This is too expensive. And I said, buddy, you're buying it. That's why it's expensive.
Yeah. And there's a lot to educate. That's your job, unfortunately.
Yes,
like, that's my job too, because I retail my own stuff. But like, the biggest problem that I've seen is educating your retailers to sell your product.
That's
because
right.
the way that White Spot sells their stuff is not the same way that Savinelli sells their stuff, and it's not the same way that Bones sells their stuff.
Nope, you got to recognize your customer.
Every brand has their own demographic and their own price point. Bones specifically, I've had to educate a few retailers. Some of them, they're just like, yes, tell me how to sell these, and I tell them how to sell them, and they're like, wait, that's way easier than I thought it would be. Some of my small retailers, they just throw like 30 bones in a box or a basket, and they literally put the basket on the counter at the register, and they just say $40 or $45 or $50, and it's a last
Nope.
minute thing.
I have a basket full of Italian basket pipes on the counter for
It works.
$35 or something.
Yeah.
Bones pipes go right next to the Sir Jacopos, Sean's pipes, anything,
That's awesome.
and people love it. We reserved a few for the store, one of each shape for the store.
Yeah.
The brick and mortar, and gone,
Yeah.
We'll be getting more soon. Great stuff. Sean, your stuff flew out of our place too last time, so I know you're making more for us.
Yeah,
Yep.
I got a batch in the works right now for you. About a
Nice.
dozen or so.
Nice. Good stuff.
So one thing that people need to remember when it comes to pipe tobacco and maybe complaining about prices being higher and all this kind of stuff, it's still cheaper than cigars by a huge margin. I mean,
I gotta say,
people complain about. Go ahead.
Pipe collectors. Okay, pipe collectors. Yeah, they'll haggle with you, and we don't budge much. We try to give the best discount we possibly can, unless you're dealing with like something like a Davidoff pipe, which we have to carry. We're contracted. We kind of just want to get it in and get it out. Things like that. But we don't see much of pipe collectors complaining about price, nor tobacco guys. They don't seem to complain to us about price that much. In-store business, sure, because we're a high-tax state. I mean, we're 40% of the wholesale, which is kind of silly.
Yeah.
It's going to get worse in Massachusetts. They're going to do a generational tobacco ban this year. But to get back to the point, we just raised our prices on tobacco for the first time in 2 to 3 years, and there's been increases every single year. Tins you got to keep up with. The manufacturer goes up, you go up. Our own stuff, we hadn't, and now we're up, and now it's going to get more expensive. I'm going to have to raise it again next year because we got to hunt the stuff, and it's not as,
Yeah. I think what people need to remember, though, is do the math on how much per bowl it's going to cost you.
Exactly.
I mean, you might say, well, that's outrageous. I'm not paying $100 for that tin of McClelland. Like, okay, well, a 100-gram tin of McClelland, you're going to smoke 2 to 3 grams worth per bowl. Do the math.
Yeah.
You're still way less than a cigar's worth. And then your average tins, like, sure, go into your local shop you might spend $25, $30 on a 3.5 ounce tin of Lech MacBaron. And that seems expensive compared to online, and it is. But just think about it. Do the math on it. You're partaking in a luxury that you are not entitled to have as a daily thing.
That was
and
kind of my
if you
point,
want to, it's still cheap. Like this is a luxury to be in this business and to sell pipes to people. And as a pipe maker, I appreciate when people haggle. I know a lot of pipe makers appreciate that. I know you can't really do that with a retailer for the most part, but
we can. I mean, there's, like I said, there's certain things yes, but other things no. Somebody comes in and wants to haggle with me on a bones pipe, I'm going to walk away. I become very good at walking away these days. I never used to do it, but sometimes you just know. I think the first time I did it was a couple of years ago when a guy came in. Actually, this was more than a couple of years, but my mind is mush these days. Guy came in a full Sherlock Holmes outfit, the deer stalker, the coat, everything, and he pulled out a magnifying glass and started looking at one of the pipes that I had put on the counter. And after he started asking me stupid questions about whether I could get give him measurements, and I said, "You're looking right at it." He started arguing. I just walked away.
Yeah.
You just, you get a certain amount of sensitives.
Well, certain people can't be satisfied either. Like, I'm not trying to talk shit about anyone, even as a collective, but like like Sean just said, I mean, this is a luxury. Like, we're not selling bread and water. Like, we're not selling gasoline or electricity, which has gone through the roof anyway, but like, it's not supposed to be like it. for some people, and I've mentioned this before, some people will tell me like, "Hey, I'm saving up for a bones pipe." Now, for me, I'm thinking like, "Wow, like that's kind of wild." But then there's some people that will pick up 6 at a time, and they won't think
Yep.
anything of it. And so you have to realize like everyone's different. Everyone's got
Yep.
different stuff going on.
Yep.
There are guys out there that do not think there's a single issue with buying, 1 to 2 handmade pipes a month that's going to ring them up for like $1,000. They don't care about it. It's just part of the deal. Maybe they're a doctor, maybe they're a lawyer, maybe they just are retired.
All right. That's why my first question to anyone who wants to purchase a pipe is, what were you thinking about spending?
Budget.
And we try to have
Yeah.
something for everybody. Okay. And I'm not
Yeah.
going to go over. I want to sell a pipe and I want to sell a tobacco blend to someone. I want them to come back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want them to
Mhm.
walk out and say, "Oh, this is crap." Which is why I mean, I think there's like a couple dozen pipe shops left in the United States where people actually know what they're doing
Yeah.
and can educate and take care of their customers.
Yeah.
I love getting to know what my customers smoke because then I get excited when something new comes in and I can say, "Hey, you're going to love this,"
Mhm.
or I can say, "You're not going to like this." You know?
Yeah.
Um,
I have a list of people I've got a list of people who will buy smooths no matter what. I've got a list
mhm.
of people who want pipes under a certain weight. I've got a list of people who want this certain type of finish. And if I happen to
Yep.
have something that I think they would like, I go message one of the people off the list.
Yeah.
And
Right.
same thing as you. I want people to come back. So I
Right.
appreciate the
That's the
haggling
thing. I
because
mean,
I
I
would
hate.
rather haggle and make a sale than say, "Oh, well, that's too expensive." Well, would $20 less
Yeah.
sell the
You know,
pipe?
I see
Hell yeah,
guys.
let's do it.
I see guys come in and they get a pipe from I don't know, a tobacco store, not a real, they go to a cigar store that happens to have a few pipes on the wall. They come in with the pipe and they're like, this thing is smoking hot, or I can't get this to smoke right, or it won't stay lit. And I'm like, where's your tamper? And they're like, what? And I have to,
Educate
if you're
people on
buying
how
a
to
pipe
smoke
for
it.
if you're buying a pipe for the first time at Watch City, if you don't have 10 minutes for me to go through everything with you and explain to you how to light it, how to keep it lit, and pack it, light it, keep it lit, um, I just don't want anybody going out the door that isn't going to have a good time or enjoy the pipe.
Yeah, and that's how it should be.
Yeah, you know.
That's how it should
Um,
be.
Yeah. Education's a big deal, and there are a lot of shops that don't educate. I think it's getting better. I have a few retailers that have been around for a while, but then when they
well, it is
started,
getting better because of YouTube
well, yeah,
and
I mean,
things
but
like that. You
there's a
know.
lot of guys that are learning, like a lot of I can't even tell you how. I think there's like 4 shops that I work with right now where they're like the shop's been around for a while and they were a customer of the shop and now they're working at the shop and they're like, yeah, the old guy wants me to just take care of it and I'm bringing in
Yeah,
all this new stuff and it feels good because now you're not stuck with the same repetitive crap we've been stuck with for like 40 years.
exactly. And I
You
think
know?
that is really important for this generation too, because this generation wants what is new.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've said this before. Blenders like us, shop blenders, um, if they're not willing to change on a dime, it's going to be rough going ahead. You cannot, unfortunately, stand on tradition anymore. Yes, I love the blends we make, and I put my heart into every one of those blends, and it's going to be sad to see a lot of them go.
Hmm.
Okay, but if I try and make something else that's like, for instance, Old Dominion is our top seller. That's going to be gone soon. If when
it's a
this
good one.
airs, it's probably going to be gone. But I'm not going to make another tobacco and call it Old Dominion. I just can't do that. It's not the same. Different is
Yeah,
not the same. Um, and I think a lot of the few shop blenders that are left out there are going to do that, and I don't think it's going to work. I mean, you've just got to be able to give people fresh stuff.
Hmm.
yeah. I think
What's
it's an
new?
opportunity. I think a lot of people
Yep,
have
I
been
do
very doom
too.
and
I think
gloom
it's a
about
huge
this.
opportunity. Nothing
Yeah,
against Sutliff. Their stuff was great. However, there is better stuff out there. I found, okay, that the only problem is it's not consistently available.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, we're going to have a big batch of this, and then you might not get it again until I get the leaf. That's how
Yeah.
it has to go. That's how it has to go.
Well, I think if you're coming into this hobby and you're new as of the last like 4, 5, 6 years,
Yeah,
be hopeful, because you're going to get to experience things for the first time that people have not been able to experience in the pipe tobacco hobby for the last 20 or 30 years.
that's
You're
right.
going to have new
That's right. I mean,
stuff. This is
all the
going to be your
lamentation.
time to learn.
Look, I get all the lamentations. Look, some people, with all the blends that were discontinued, that's a bunch of people's favorite blend. You know,
Yeah.
something's gone that someone can't get anymore. I get it. Get over it, because there's going to be plenty of new stuff coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it'll be
Okay?
good new stuff.
Yep.
Like you're going to find
Yeah.
something you like.
I get notifications from Laudisi almost every other Monday about a new blend that's coming out, be it from Europe or Gowith, or I've seen more new blends come out or blends be returned over the last couple of years than I've seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Which is awesome. And it's only going
it's
to
great.
continue as long as people stop with the doom and gloom shit and are encouraging to people like you, Ernie, because
Yeah.
what's going to motivate
Well,
you to continue making
I
badass
think,
stuff for people who appreciate it?
I've heard a lot of people have called these last few months, and it's very appreciated. Just tell us how much they like this, and if we're going to be able to make the same thing. Which I flatly tell them, no, a lot of things are going to go away. A lot of things are going to stay. I was surprised that some of the blends are not going to change. Persian Slipper should not change at all. The aromatics won't change. Some of the burleys won't change. Many will, because they relied on a product that Sutliff made that was unique. Sutliff had this machine they called the Dipper. Although I never could quite understand the mechanics of it, the result was a ribbon cut burley that was just rich and nutty and smooth, and it was great. That machine's being scrapped. That's gone.
Yeah.
Now I can sit here and I can say, crap. Well, I'm going to have to recreate this, or damn it, we're going to have to. No, I'm not going to do that. On to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're having a lot of fun. I've got I call him the kid, Miten Patel, who is the manager, their son, who is fantastic. And he's really in tune with the younger generation, which I decidedly am not. I'm kind of a get off my lawn guy. But he's great, because he's experimenting with flavors. He's really getting good at using flavorings to accent the natural tobacco flavors, kind of steer it and bring it out, which I've always advocated but never have been really, really good at. It's something that he just kind of understands.
That's cool.
So I can make a blend, and I can say to him, all right, I'm not 100% with this blend right now. Why don't you see if you can, go in the back, mess around with some pipettes and some flavorings and stuff, and see what you can come up with.
Some potions.
And 9 times out of 10, he'll come back with something that's pretty damn interesting.
That's cool. That's exciting. People need to be excited for what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I mean, what are we going to do? What am I going to do? I'm not sitting on a pile of money here. I'm a shop lender. A lot of people think, oh, you must be rolling in the cash. I'm 56 years old, which is not really old, but it's old enough where what else am I going to do? I've been doing this for 25, 30 years.
Dude, I'm 40 and I don't want to start over again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got time to, and I don't want to.
No.
Yeah.
It's I've always said what will kill us is inside the tobacco business, not outside of it.
Yeah.
Every regulation that comes out on a city, state, federal basis, it's a little bit more. It's a death of 1,000 cuts, as people used to say. It's a little bit more. Massachusetts I'm going to make a prediction. They're going to pass it. They're going to do it in the dark of night, and they're going to release.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to release it on Friday afternoon. They are going to screw every convenience store, every tobacco seller in the state, and say, okay, you're never going to be allowed to sell tobacco to anyone born after 2005. Now, that's not going to affect me for 10 years. So most people are just going to look at that and say, well, it won't affect us for 10 years. But sure as hell will affect the business in 10 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It'll kill it.
Jordan Peterson has a really good clip if anyone wants to see it. It's somewhere on YouTube, but basically he talks about how the way that they overregulate to kill things, they don't do it
Yes.
immediately. They don't ban things because then everyone gets mad. They're going to step
Mhm.
up to the line, and then the people will start talking. They'll start, chatting and say, yo, stop. Like, that's enough. And then they'll be like, oh, okay, no problem. We'll take a step back. And then the people kind of relax and it becomes the norm. That's how you catch fish with your hands. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you go in the water and you kind of get a little too close and they get freaked out, and then they'll kind of come back and be like, what is this? Because they're stupid. They'll forget, just like people. And then you grab them and you got them. And it's going to take a little bit of time, but surely it will happen. Unless, and I don't know, we could come at this from a non-political angle. Let's just call it is what it is. What's happening is what's happening. Because I know there's a lot of people that are very,
Let's just call it common sense,
yeah. What's happening now? This is actually a good thing to talk about. Do you see Trump being a rabid anti-smoker, even though he had Trump cigars, an anti-smoker? Do you see anything easing up on the tobacco side under his administration?
Having been in the tobacco business under, let's see, Bush, Obama, Trump, and Biden, I can say that nothing has really changed under any of them, really.
That's what I thought too.
The
Yeah.
FDA under Obama, it started, but it's been watered down a lot. It's still in effect on pipe tobacco, but they're not looking at that stuff right now. To be quite honest with you, I don't think his priority is tobacco.
Yeah.
No.
I don't think his priority is. And now, I don't know if you guys are paying attention, but there's places coming out and saying, well, nicotine is actually
good for
it has
you.
some benefits.
It is. Though they found that in COVID, the beginning of
Yeah.
COVID, people were like, why aren't the cigarette smokers dying? It's like, well, ding, ding, ding. It's because of the nicotine.
Guess who never got COVID?
You never got it?
I got it once, but not.
That's pretty good, though.
Well, I tell you,
wow.
I got it once, and I got it very in my throat. It was pretty bad, but it went away pretty quickly. I've got an 87-year-old father and an 83-year-old mother. Both of them got COVID, and I think they only got one of the vaccination shots, not the boosters. Yeah. And both of them got COVID twice, and they had the sniffles.
Well, that's not bad for that age. My grandma still hasn't gotten COVID. She's 87.
God bless her.
Which is crazy. But I've talked about her before. She has a very particular lifestyle. She still lives like it's like 1930. Like, she doesn't buy stuff ever. She'll carve the fat off of like a ham at Christmas and just eat the fat. And I'm like, what are you doing? Don't eat the fucking ham. What are you doing?
Look,
and she'll
I
just
know
eat
everybody.
That's the good stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody tells this story, and I think a lot of times it's urban legend, but I can factually tell you that the man that I grew up with, my Uncle Ed, old, Lebanese American guy, black, dark Turkish coffee all day. The man would subsist on coffee and toast, and he would smoke a pack or two of English Oval unfiltered cigarettes per day. And he died at 94, and he had a full life.
Yeah.
Wow.
He used to give me cigarettes when I was about 12, 13 years old. He thought it was funny.
This is good for you.
And
that is a common factor, though. Like, they went when they interviewed.
And I'm not saying that I'm not telling everybody to go out and buy a pack of cigarettes and light up.
Yeah, don't do that.
No, don't. And I'm just saying that, there's this thing called epigenetics, which studies all these anomalies that happen, where some people just don't have that gene.
Yeah.
My sister was recently tested because a lot of people in my family have come down with pancreatic and certain cancers over the years, and some people haven't.
Yeah.
And I guess they pinpointed it to one gene, and they said, my sister doesn't have it. It's likely I don't have it. I just live. I don't care.
Me too.
I
Yeah,
just, you know,
it's the same
I
thing
mean, I
with like
have,
the BRCA gene, like causing
right,
breast
right,
cancer. Like
right.
we know at least two people that had voluntary mastectomies because they're like, I have the gene, I don't want to deal with like dying from cancer. It's like cool. Like I'm glad that we know that. You know.
Yes. I've got a lot of customers that will come in. Um, I shouldn't say a lot. I should say over the years, I've had a few dozen. And it's the same conversation. Yeah, I'm looking for like a natural, organic tobacco. And I'm like, buddy, it's not what is in it that's going to kill you. It's the tobacco. So if you're worried about smoking, don't smoke, you know?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
you know, because they're looking for organic cigarettes, basically. I'm like, you know, I'm not going to sit here and try and make you feel good.
Mhm.
You know, if you've got a lot of cancer in your family,
Yeah.
and a lot of those people who passed from cancer were smokers, it's probably not a good idea for you to smoke a pack of cigarettes a
Probably. Yeah.
day. Okay.
Yeah.
It is
Um,
kind of weird though
I
that
gave
whole
it up in
dynamic.
2000. I gave up cigarettes in 2009. I was smoking about a half a pack of Lucky Strikes a day. I
Mhm.
loved them. I will occasionally have a cigarette, occasionally these days. But I stopped because it got too expensive. At $8, I was like, no, no more.
Woo. Yeah, it's up there now. I switched over to
It's like 13
pouches.
to 15 now. Yeah.
I smoked cigarettes for years, and I mean, I didn't start super duper young, and I wasn't a heavy smoker, but it got to the point where I started feeling like okay about it as a pipe
Yeah.
maker because I was like, I'm not seeing any of these other overseas guys, you know, the Europeans and stuff smoking pipes. I see them smoking cigarettes, and it was like, oh, it's okay. It's okay to smoke cigarettes as a pipe smoker or a pipe maker. And then one day, I kind of just my daughter was. I remember what happened. My daughter was like maybe a year old, my oldest, and my wife left early. She's like, I got to leave early for work. And I was like, I got to, no, I normally get up and have a cigarette and then I get on my, you know, my dad duties. And she's like, you don't have time today. I was like, shit. And I just didn't have one. And then like nap time rolls around. I'm like, I'm going to have one. I'm like, let's see how far we can push this. And that was the last cigarette. And that was like, I don't know, 7 years ago. Haven't had one since.
I think it's
And
different
yeah,
when you're in the tobacco business where I am surrounded by it
yeah.
6 or 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
I have never had a problem just putting it down. In 2019, I was very sick. I had what they thought was an autoimmune disease, which turned out to be a blood infection that was
Yikes.
pretty severe, almost killed me, but it was very easily curable.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't smoke at all. And I just kind of put it down. And then several times over the years, I've just sort of just don't feel like smoking.
Yeah.
And so
I'm the
for me,
same
it's
way
different.
with
You know, I'm
pipes.
around this stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, the cigarettes, it was a couple of days I was irritable. That was it. I'm irritable every day, so it doesn't really make much of a difference.
Yeah. You
Uh,
just,
Can't tell if you haven't had a cigarette or not.
it's,
let me ask you guys a
yeah,
question.
go for it.
How many of the younger generation, since you guys both do you sell pipes retail as well,
Mm-hmm.
how many of the do you see much of the younger generation showing an interest in artisan pipes or you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It's
And
demographic.
a
It's,
lot
That's
of
it's,
our
fantastic.
a lot of our demographic now is younger
yeah.
guys. There's in the
I'm seeing
last
a lot more
five,
come
six,
in.
7 years.
Yep. You
Yeah,
asked me
there's a
a
good
couple of years
mix.
ago, and I would have said no. A couple of years ago, I'd have said nobody. There's just the guys that have been smoking. Maybe the middle-aged guys are new smokers, but I hadn't seen any of the. And now I am. We
Yeah,
sold
I see a
a
lot in their early
ton.
20s.
We sold a ton of pipes last year in the store.
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot. And you know, we turned over our inventory quite a few times, which is unusual because our specialty is tobacco. We're not, you know,
Yeah.
real pipe sellers like, you know, any of the other guys out there. I expect that I think everybody knows that not smoking pipes, tobaccopipes.com and
Mm-hmm.
Cup of Joe's are going to be consolidated into pipes and tobacco,
Pipesandcigars.com.
Pipes and cigars.
pipes and cigars, pipes and
Yeah.
cigars.
Well,
Yeah.
they'll
By the
redirect
time
it
this
when
Which
I,
is
comes out,
STG.
Yeah.
Yeah, by the
You
time
know,
this episode comes out, they might already be consolidated and tobacco pipes shut down.
Yeah.
They were talking
right.
about the end of March to do that.
Yep. Yep.
It might be then.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Well, a
then
lot of us,
those will redirect. I don't
I
think that
hope
they're
so.
moving because they're selling off all the inventory. There's not much left on that site.
I know.
Yeah.
And they're, I think we'll pick up a little bit from there.
Mhm.
A lot of guys are saying, "Oh, I'm going to boycott STG." What are you, an idiot? You're never going to smoke Peter Stokkebye
Yeah.
luxury
Yeah.
bullseye again. Yeah, you'll be on a boycott for 2 weeks, and if that, and then you'll be right back. You can't get away from them. I'm
Yeah.
going to be blending
Yeah.
with some of their stuff. I have to, and you know what? It is what it is. You know, you can't.
We
Boycotts
beat
don't
that
work.
horse to death. Like on
Oh,
this podcast, we've talked about it so much. Like if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. Like we're not saying like you have to smoke a pipe. Like, but these things are going to still be around, and STG has accumulated all the stuff. Like I'm smoking Lane 1Q right now. Like
mhm.
I don't agree
Pussy.
with. Yeah. Hey, hold up. Where I got the burley flake here too. Okay.
All right. Okay.
But no, I didn't want to open up all the doors and everything because yeah, it's hard to see me if I'm smoking in here. But um, your choice to not deal with certain companies isn't going to change anything, and
No.
it's better just to move on. And Ernie, the way that I think it was the last conversation we had or a couple before that, you mentioned the blends are going to change, but they're going to be new. And if you have the old blends, then you have the old blends, and great, you have the old blends. I got a lot of stuff within arm's reach that is no longer produced, and it's not Sutliff stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it's kind of cool to have it. But
Yeah.
then
It
some of the
is.
newer stuff that's still produced, I mean, some of
Yep.
my jars here say 2023, 2024. Now you got the new stuff. It's just
What
more
people don't
options.
realize, like Samuel Gawith has just, or Laudisi has started importing some Samuel Gawith stuff that is like pure Turkish stuff.
Yep.
You go on tobaccoreviews.com, which is a great place for people to I compare it to guys who like to smell their own farts. It's just they like to read what they wrote about things. I would say about 50% of the reviews on there are great. They get to the point.
Yeah.
You might like this tobacco. This is what I liked about it. This is what I didn't like about it. And then you got the guys that are just want to read back what they wrote
Mhm.
to themselves.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that
at
though.
night.
That's any
But
fringe industry.
yeah, any industry, especially
Yeah.
but any hobby really. But you know, yeah. So Gawith is coming out with things that are blenders. You go on Tobacco Reviews and you'll see 1-star review. Well, yeah, it's a 1-star review. It's pure fucking Turkish. Excuse me. It's pure
Oh, you can
Turkish.
say whatever you want on here.
Yeah.
We don't care.
It's pure.
Don't censor.
Yeah, we're talking about tobacco, dude. This isn't for
The
kids.
thing about tobacco is that there's very few people who say I smoke pure Latakia, nothing else, that really mean it. I've seen some people who do it and they seem to enjoy it. I've seen guys try and emulate Aleister Crowley or whoever it was that used to smoke Perique soaked in rum, and they seem to enjoy it. Okay, I will tell you from many years of experience that anybody who tells you that they like smoking raw tobacco with no casings is absolutely out of their mind.
It's rough.
It's not only rough,
It needs some
it's
processing.
there's bad stuff in it.
Yeah.
You need to process that stuff out of it. You should see the smells we get when we're re-fermenting tobaccos. It's just
Really?
there's ammonia, there's all kinds of stuff. People say, oh, the cigarette company puts ammonia in their stuff. No, not really. They don't. They might use a little bit of I can't remember the name of the chemical to smooth it out. But the ammonia is in the cigarette, in the tobacco itself, as it ferments, comes out. So anybody who smokes that stuff is like nuts. And I see.
You know what you should do, Ernie, is go to like somehow get some raw leaf. Like I think Leaf Only maybe has something like that, and just have it.
I won't.
in the
Won't
shop.
put it in the shop.
No, I mean
Won't do it.
just for sample, just to
Still
have it at
won't
the
do it.
counter. Be like, here, grab a pinch of what natural tobacco is.
I
Enjoy.
am when it comes to federal regulations,
Oh, you can't do it.
I am a rule follower.
Oh, you legally can't do it.
Legally, I wouldn't even have raw leaf anywhere
Okay.
near the store.
All right, don't do that.
I
Gotcha.
have messed with it on my own, and I will tell you, just like making a pipe. Okay, I don't think a lot of people realize what it takes to go from a chunk of briar
Mhm.
to a pipe, and I don't think people understand what it takes to go from a raw leaf of tobacco to, say, escudo or any tobacco out there to a finished product.
Yeah.
They're night and day, and
Mhm.
the skill it takes is just not weighed by some people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Luckily,
I grew a crop actually of various tobaccos, many, probably 10, 12, probably 14 years ago. My grandma had this, like, her yard was a compost pile essentially
yeah,
for
yeah,
years. I mean,
yeah,
just like a mound, like 6 feet tall, of just scraps and manure and all kinds of stuff she would just throw out there.
fantastic.
And no one ever turned it. You pitch open this like bale of compost and it would just steam, man. It was just hot,
Yeah,
hot. So we tilled it in, and then the following year, we still found out the soil was way, way too nitrogenated. I mean, it was like super hot. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to try this out. And I planted a bunch of tobacco. And these plants got massive. Like I had like 10-foot tall plants. And I was like, this is
Oh,
great.
geez.
Big, big, huge leaves on them. And I took it all down and I, hung them up and dried them in my garage, which was pretty open. And I put them down. I knew nothing about this. Put them all in a jar to kind of like, I guess you're supposed to like throw them in a jar after. And I got a little speck of mold. And I was like, oh, got to take that leaf out. Next morning I wake up, boom. The whole thing was just like a petri dish. I was like, well, that
Really?
sucks. That was a whole bunch of tobacco. I mean, like,
I had a similar
Wow.
experience. I've got a
yeah,
garage. The rafters are loaded with red burley. I've been gardening all my life,
okay,
and
you know,
so I like just to grow tobacco. I never really. In 1 or 2 years, I got interested in just seeing what the process was like. So I pulled it down. I color curing was not a problem. Hanging it up,
yeah,
letting it rot. Fermenting is a different story.
yeah,
There's a product out there. Anybody who's really into this stuff, it's called a proofing oven. Basically, bakers use it to raise dough in, so it keeps humidity, a certain humidity and temperature up to 180 degrees in it. It's like an oven,
Mhm.
and there's some pretty cheap ones you can get on Amazon that I think, because I never done it, would be really nice to ferment the stuff out. But that's the big problem. I could never ferment it. I had stuff in a little bit too much moisture, and the whole thing molds out,
Yeah.
and it's over.
Yeah.
It's
Long
quick.
process.
It was weird how quick it was. Oh, just overnight, just all furry. And I was like, well,
Oh
I
yeah,
guess we're throwing that away.
Well, it's
yeah.
like mushrooms can pop up overnight and be
Yeah.
10 times what they were the day before.
Just
So,
I
we'll
mean,
call it plume.
yeah, we'll call
yeah.
Plume,
Yeah,
right?
we'll call it
Yeah,
plume.
it's Plume. Oh man,
Yeah.
but it is kind
Ernie,
of.
before. Oh,
Well,
go
I
ahead,
just
Chris.
wanted to. The thing was that, like, part of the understanding is when you go to a tobacco shop, and Shannon touched on this with the Missouri Meerschaum thing, is like you walk in on there and you're getting value. Like, you go and you talk to Ernie and he's going to point you in the right direction. The least you could do is listen, right?
Yeah,
Utilize, if he's willing to talk to you, utilize the resources that are involved, because that's basically what you're paying for when you're going there.
you're
You have
Yeah.
absolutely right.
expertise.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't know what
Well,
you're doing.
I
I
mean,
know what
yeah,
I'm doing, and I still don't know about
right.
tobacco processing.
Oh, I still learn new stuff from my
Yeah,
customers all the time.
Yeah.
I will say that specifically things about pipes and things like that. I think Sean knows that I've been threatening to play with carving for a while now. I've got
And you should.
you should.
as soon as I told some of the guys, some of my veteran pipe smokers in the store, that I was going to start messing around with it, one of them gave me a cache of old Eltang briar. One of them gave me a lathe. I already have a vintage South Bend lathe that I keep in good order.
Cool.
I've got ebonite. I've never paid for any of this stuff, so I kind of owe it to myself to
Do
mess
it.
around with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll help you
I'm
whenever
sure
you want, man.
I'm sure that I can make a pipe that is smokable. Making it pretty is a totally different thing.
It takes
That's where the
time, man.
talent
Yeah.
comes. That's where the
It
talent
takes a
comes
lot of
in.
time.
Dedication and
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Um, I just kind of found this thing in my room is like a mess of tobacco here at my home. This is one of the things I'll miss about Sutliff. This is Justice Mixture. This is one of our top
Okay.
selling blends. This is the 15th anniversary edition, which had 15-year-old Perique and a
Wow.
Syrian Latakia. And let's see if I can if I can show it to you. Left is right, right is left. There we
There you
go.
Cool.
Calling
Not too
Sutliff, using this, which was made with mostly McClellan tobacco, calling Sutliff and saying, hey, can I send you down, 25, 30 pounds of tobacco, and can you tin it for us, and we'll pay you for the tinning? And they'd say yes.
Yeah.
Can't do that anymore. Craig Tarler used to do that. I used to call Craig at Cornell and Dill.
Mhm.
Craig, I got about 50 pounds of tobacco. Will you tin it for us? Yes. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there will be things that we all miss, but we're all going to survive.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
If you want to. If you want to survive,
Exactly.
you will. Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
it's going to be tough for some people that are going to stand on tradition. And, we all respect tradition, but sometimes you just got to move. I tell everybody the same thing. Go on tobaccoreviews.com and look at the list of tobaccos that Watch City has had that are no longer produced. If something changes, I have never had a problem with changing the name and making a different product. It's honesty. And I don't need the hassle. You
Yeah.
know, the hassles are what I think most of what I've done is born out of not wanting to deal with the hassle of dealing with people saying, "Oh, you changed this, and you did this, and it's not the same thing." I just don't want to deal with it.
It's genuine though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
You're not, and I'm kind of the same way. Like, there's no reason to put up with a bunch of crap and jump through hoops if it's not actually going to produce value or efficiency for you. Just do you. There's
Well, I
other
mean,
guys that'll do their thing.
we've made Deluxe Crumb Cut for several years now. At 10, 15 now, and it's our burley mixture, and it was made with the same cut of burley that they used to make on the Mixture 79 machine.
Okay.
And a couple of years ago, they stopped using that machine because it was a freaking nightmare to use. And I guess it kept breaking down. And they started using just a cube cut machine, and they were making these larger cubes, you know. So, me and the kid would sit there and we'd get these cubes and we'd have to cook them before we cased them. And we'd case them, and while they're still warm, we'd be sitting there rubbing out, 100 pounds of
Oh,
cubes
damn.
to get that same cut.
Wow.
And it was worth it because I love Deluxe Crumb Cut. I love Burley's. But come to find out that there is another Burley on the market that is so damn close, we're probably
Wow.
just going to keep Deluxe Crumb Cut.
Oh, good.
That's
Keep it the
awesome.
same way.
That's awesome.
I mean, you just got to look. You got to know where to look, and you
Yeah.
got to be open again. And you can't stand on, well, this is our best-selling tobacco. We got to continue making. No, just make another bestseller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You got to learn to pivot.
there's some interesting things coming out. By the time this comes out, there will probably be a tobacco that I'm not ready to tell anybody the name of. Sean knows it. I think you know it, Chris.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm
It'll
not
be
going to
fun.
say it here, but you're all going to get a real kick out of it. And it's probably the best name I've come up with so far.
It's
And
a
it's
good one.
Yeah.
going to be a stronger blend. So
People will like it.
Good.
It'll be good.
Yeah.
Good.
So, Ernie, before we wrap up here, what would your advice be to somebody coming into your shop or any shop for the first time to pick up their first pipe, their first tobacco? This kind of goes into what Chris said earlier about, gleaning value from the people you're buying a pipe from, their
Two-
experience to ask the question. So what's your advice for somebody who's just getting into this?
what my advice has been for many years is buy a corn cob. Okay? Buy some tobacco. I like to get people started with the mildest tobacco. Look, they all come in wanting to smoke an aromatic, and I have no
Mhm.
problem with that. So I try and sell them as natural a mild aromatic as possible. We make one called 4Q. and which is my version of what Captain Black would be if it wasn't soaked in creosote and
Yeah.
sugars. Um,
Gotcha.
so I usually sell them that, or I used to sell McBaron Virginia Flake, which I thought was a nice mild tobacco. Um, and I will tell them to you know listen to me, learn how to light it, keep it lit. If you have a problem and you can't keep it lit, call me. Here's my card. I'm here 6, 7 days a week. Call me. There are no stupid questions. Just ask me and I'll help you.
Yeah.
I want you to be able to smoke this pipe. I like to get people to start it off with not spending more than $25, $30. And once they get into it, more times than not, if you've taught them right, they're very appreciative that you didn't try and rip them off. Now, there are some guys that
Yeah.
come in and they want that briar pipe right from the start. That's where Chris has come in to play lately, because the Bones pipes are great for that.
Mhm.
Okay. Basket pipes are potluck. When I sold basket pipes to first timers who had to have a briar pipe, I would say, pick the one with no finish on it. Pick the one with no stain,
Yeah.
no anything. Just pick that, give yourself every chance to make it a decent smoking pipe. And sometimes it would be, and sometimes it wouldn't.
Yeah.
And can they tell the difference? Well, no, but they'll know the difference. I mean, it's just, it's hot and bitey,
Yeah.
and this thing right here is what so many new pipe smokers, they don't get taught, is how to use their tamper.
I agree.
Yeah.
And they puff too hard and they wind up getting a hot, wet smoke. Can't keep it lit. I remember one guy I used to have came in. I'll leave you with this story. The guy came in and he had he's buying basket pipes. And he came in the next week with the basket pipe and he said, this thing is burnt out. And it's got a hole right there. He said, all right, I give him another pipe. Comes back the next week. He's like, I'm embarrassed. This has got a hole right through it. So I gave him a good deal on another basket pipe. And he comes back again, and the pipe's got a hole burnt in it.
Jeez.
And I said to him, I want you to show me exactly how you're lighting the pipe and how you're smoking the pipe. He says, well, I'm usually reading when I do it. And I hold it down like this, and he grabs his torch, and he puts his torch right in there, his cigar torch, lights the thing up, and he's sitting there. And I said, how often do you puff it? Oh, constantly.
Constantly.
I didn't give him any more pipes.
No.
Because you know what? He wasn't taught how to do it proper.
Yeah.
It's not his fault. Just, there's not a lot of places you can just walk into anymore. And again, we've come from the point where we were like a showroom. People would showroom us. They'd come in and they'd look at stuff in our store, and then they'd go home and they'd buy it on the internet. And it was hard work. I mean, but we made it to the point where people come into our store because they are getting something that they're not going to get online. They're going to get educated. They're going to get product knowledge. If you're a jerk, you're going to get a sore ass, but
I think it's great, man. You guys, specifically you offer an amazing service and transparency and genuine honesty.
We try to. Genuine honesty is not well taken by everyone, but I think most people in pipe smoking appreciate it. You'll go on the forums, and I'm sure forums are like the bastion of people who love to hear themselves talk.
It's the worst.
And you'll see me getting ripped on. You'll see the guys from STG getting ripped on, and I don't care. I don't even pay attention. I hear it from well-meaning people. I hear it. Oh, this guy's ripping it. What the hell do I care?
Who cares? I'm sick
55.
of it.
I got no wife. I got no kids. I'd be in jail if I did. I don't care. So, it's fine. And but most people take it well. I mean, our slogan is, we're not rude, we're Boston nice. And we are.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to see you inside of like a florist or like a tea room, but in a tobacconist, I think that's a good place for you, Ernie.
Yeah. And it's worked well. So if anybody wants to check out watchcitycigar.com, you're going to get some great tobacco blends from the man.
And get them while you can. I have made a point not to tell anybody. I'm not going to go on there and list which blends are going to be around and which ones are going, because I don't want to start a mad rush of people buying things that aren't going to enjoy them, or that are going to buy things just because they can't get them. We will slowly segue into the new tobaccos, and that's all I can say.
Good.
And
that's
I think
all
that's what everybody should be doing.
That's all
I think
they
that's
need
going
now.
to be the way it makes it as seamless for everybody.
Yeah.
But that's the way it has to be.
Yeah. Ernie, thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Oh, anytime,
We've really
guys.
enjoyed
Appreciate it.
Good
We'll
talking
have
to
you
you.
back for another chat another time. So
Sounds
thanks
good.
for listening, guys. This has been Beyond the Pipe with Chris and Sean. If you have any questions or want to tell us that we suck, or have a suggestion for a guest, or you think that you would be interesting to talk to, let us know. You can message us on Facebook or Instagram or emails, beyondthepipe1@gmail.com, and we can get you, questions answered and maybe get you on the podcast. So thanks for listening, guys. Later.